So WoW Remix Mists of Pandaria is one of the most highly anticipated upcoming updates, being only a few weeks away, and we've recently gotten some pretty significant information on cosmetic rewards you'll be able to obtain from taking part in this event. Now, if you've never heard of this, WoW Remix Mists of Pandaria is an upcoming time-limited event that will allow us to play through the entirety of the Mists of Pandaria expansion on a new character. We'll level that character all the way from level 1 up to level 70, and we'll be able to partake in all of the questing, the patch content, the dungeons, and all of the raids all the way up to Mythic Siege of Orgrimmar. But this event is also going to include completely unique progression. Everything you do is going to be giving you more stats and this new unique gear, and in all of this new unique gear, you're going to be getting these new spell gems to put inside them that'll give you new spells, new effects that are all going to massively increase your power. So you're basically going to be getting a spell gem that pretty much gives you a unique ultimate spell. For example, one of them turns you into a big lightning orb that does massive AoE damage and makes you take a bunch of reduced damage. Then you're going to get a ton of more passive gems that have incredibly strong effects, whether it be proccing heals for you and your group as you're doing damage, whether it be proccing executes that mixed with some of these other spell gems will cause massive explosions. Pretty much any cool effect you could think of is going to be present within these gems, and all of that's going to be added on top of your normal class gameplay. And you're also going to be earning pretty much infinitely scaling stats, including increased experience, which will help you level up alts ridiculously quickly, which is also going to be pretty important later on in this video. And while you're doing all of this content, you'll be getting a new currency called bronze, and you'll be able to use this bronze to either upgrade all this gear, or there will be dozens and dozens of cosmetic items you'll be able to buy, all from some new vendors specifically with this new bronze currency. Now, you'll be able to buy a pretty absurd amount of cosmetic items from this event. You'll be able to get all the different colorations of every tier set from Mists of Pandaria, from all of the raids, all of the different colors with this new bronze currency, and those actually aren't that expensive. You'll be able to buy every toy you could get from Mists of Pandaria. You'll be able to buy most of the mounts, including a bunch of new recolors and some new unique mounts. You'll also be able to buy for a lot of this new currency the super rare mount drops from all of the world and raid bosses, including mounts from, say, Shaw of Anger. So all of those super rare 1% drop rate mounts, you'll be able to buy those, but they'll be much more expensive than everything else. Then you'll also be able to go buy all of the questing and dungeon sets, even recolors of all of those, and there'll be a chunk of new cosmetics, including what's probably going to be the most sought after item from this, which are the Shadow Pan cosmetic sets that have never been obtainable before. And that's just all of the cosmetics you'll be able to buy with the new bronze currency, but we've recently gotten some new information on some more items you'll be able to obtain. Now, one thing you do need to understand is that any character you make for this event will be transferred to retail servers when the event ends. So let's say you level up 10 characters all up to level 70, those characters will be transferred to normal retail servers. Now, this is going to be pretty important because in this event at a baseline, leveling is already pretty quick, but as you progress throughout the event, pretty much anything you do can give you permanently stacking stats. And every single character you make for this event will all be sharing these new increased stats. One of these stats being increased experience. So if you play a bunch of one character, you may have 400% increased experience to go create a new character for this event and level that character up. So it'll be incredibly good for getting new characters up to level 70, especially with the War Within coming soon. But some of the new information also ties pretty heavily into this, and that being you will be able to earn heritage armor on characters you level up in WoW Remix. And if you don't know how heritage armor works, these are basically the armor sets that are specific to a race. So for example, orcs have their own heritage armor, blood elves have their own heritage armor, most of the allied races like dark iron dwarfs all have their own heritage armor. A lot of them are actually really cool and really unique, but to be able to earn the heritage armor on a specific race, you have to actually level up a character to level 50 in the normal game. You can't boost a character and you can't race change a character to unlock that armor. So especially for all of the allied races, a lot of people don't have those heritage armors because a lot of people already have a slew of max level characters. They don't want to go back to level 1, level up a new character just to get the heritage armor to use on that specific new character. But with this new event that you can get hundreds and hundreds of % increased experience just leveling leveling up tons of new characters as a specific race to then be able to go get that heritage armor is going to be the easiest way to obtain heritage armor in the game's history. And personally, I was already planning to level up a bunch of characters in this event. I was going to progress one character and get like 400% increased experience, then go level up a bunch of alts, which while leveling up all those alts, you would also be getting more and more increased experience, so every new alt you make would be quicker than the last. But now I have even more of a reason to do this because I can just choose a bunch of different races that I don't have heritage armor on, go level up all of those characters, and then once those characters are transferred to retail servers, you just go do the pretty quick quest line to get the heritage armor for all of those new characters you leveled. And if you're a new player to World of Warcraft, some of this heritage armor has some pretty unique possibilities. For instance, the Dark Iron Dwarf allied race's heritage armor is basically this dark, fiery looking dwarf plate armor, but because that's heritage armor for the race, you can go get that heritage armor and say play on a Dark Iron Dwarf mage, and then you can basically be a mage in full plate armor, which is something that is fairly unique in World of Warcraft. In fact, I leveled up a Dark Iron Dwarf mage specifically to be able to transmog my mage in just full plate. So this event actually gives the really cool possibility of being able to get all of the heritage armors very easily. But that's not all, because we also have the possibility of being able to obtain one of the most sought after cosmetic items in the entirety of World of Warcraft, and these are the Tusks of Mannoroth. And if you've never heard of these, in Mists of Pandaria, in the final raid where we face off against Garrosh Hellscream, the normal shoulder plates he's wearing is a plate drop you can obtain from him. Now you can still obtain these in retail. You could go kill Garrosh in Siege of Orgrimmar and try to obtain these plate shoulders and use them as a transmog item, but they are absurdly rare. The drop rate is like 0.01 to 0.03% drop rate. They're stupidly rare. People have been farming these things for years, doing hundreds of runs and still never obtaining them. And they just look incredibly cool. They're very unique shoulder pads that actually fit in pretty well with a bunch of plate transmog sets. But in the new remix mode, it seems like there's going to be a new way to obtain these. Now keep in mind, this is just data mined information. These weren't in the weekend PTR test that we did, but in my opinion, it seems pretty likely that these will be in WoW Remix on launch. Now the first of this being a new item that are called Tusks of Mannoroth. This isn't an actual gear drop. These are a new cosmetic item. So it's still the Tusks of Mannoroth, but instead of just being a normal plate item, it's one of those cosmetic items where you use it and it just adds the appearance to your collection. Then alongside that, we have the Bones of Mannoroth, which have a max stack size of 20, and these read earned by defeating Garrosh Hellscream on normal or greater difficulty in the Siege of Orgrimmar. So it seems like these Bones of Mannoroth are a new item you obtain that you probably need a certain amount of them from defeating Garrosh on normal or greater difficulty, and there should be normal, heroic, and mythic. And then once you obtain a certain amount of these, you'll probably just be able to get this new Tusks of Mannoroth cosmetic item. And something pretty big to note with these is that the raid lockouts worked different in the PTR for WoW Remix. LFR did not have a lockout, but I know normal only had a 1-day lockout. So compared to normal raids in normal World of Warcraft that have a weekly lockout, this was daily. So you could go do every normal raid on a daily basis. I'm not sure how heroic or mythic lockouts are going to work. Presumably those will also just be daily. The daily raid lockouts actually makes a lot of sense for this game mode specifically. So if you say needed 20 of these bones, it actually wouldn't take you that long to be able to get all of them. And because of how this mode works, where you're just constantly getting more and more permanent stats, it'll actually be easier and easier every time you go and clear this raid, because when you're killing bosses, you'll also be getting a bunch of those permanent stat increases. So if you want to go farm up these bones and you're doing the raid every single day you go back to clear the raid again, it'll actually be easier than the day previous. So if you're a collector, or you're just looking to fill out some of the transmogs from Mists of Pandaria, or you're somebody that's just looking for some new cosmetic items to go earn, Mists of Pandaria is seeming to be one of the most cosmetically rewarding pieces of content World of Warcraft has has ever received. The amount of cosmetic items you can get from this is absolutely absurd. Like, we went over all of the new items you can get with the bronze currency, dozens and dozens and dozens of items, including dozens of full Transmog sets. And then because of the super easy leveling, you'll be able to get all of the heritage armors. And if this data mine information is correct, you'll also be able to earn the Tusks of Mannoroth, one of the rarest and most sought after items in the entirety. So WoW Remix Mists of Pandaria just seems to be getting better and better. But that's all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.